The Pentagon is deploying 1,000 AI-enabled drone wingmen, while commercial eVTOL companies still need individual waivers for routine operations. American aerospace companies are launching passenger air taxi service in the UAE before serving a single US customer. And the industry promises fully autonomous flight within years, but we're still building the basic infrastructure to handle thousands of aircraft in the urban airspace. Welcome back to On the Radar. For those of you who are new, I'm Eric Hillsberg, product manager for aerospace at MathWorks, but the views I'm sharing today and on this channel are entirely my own. It's been a while since I covered advanced air mobility, so today we're catching up on all major developments across both commercial and military AAM. Technological capabilities are advancing rapidly, but while commercial operators face regulatory bottlenecks, military applications are moving at an entirely different pace. All the sources are going to be linked below. Let's start with the military side, where things are moving at breakneck speed. You might recall that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has signed a memo directing that every US Army squad be armed with small, one-way attack drones by the end of 2026. That's roughly 18 months to equip thousands of squads with lethal autonomous weapons, a timeline that would make any commercial certification authority break out in cold sweats. This directive is part of what industry analysts are calling a global drone and counter-drone spending spree. Australia just issued 16.9 million Australian dollars in initial contracts to 11 companies under Project Land 156, acquiring everything from high-energy lasers to radio frequency jamming systems and ammunition-based systems specifically designed to defeat small UAS threats. These aren't just prototype systems. They're operational counter-drone platforms like RTX's high-energy laser weapon system, which is already proven with US Armed Forces and being developed in a palletized version for maritime vessels against drone swarms. The urgency becomes clear when you look at Project Vanaheim, the joint US-UK effort to develop counter-UAS capabilities. They're testing 20 different solutions against quadcopters and fixed-wing drones, but there's a problem. The threats are evolving faster than the countermeasures. Russia's deployment of fiber-optic, wire-controlled FPV attack drones wasn't even considered when Vanaheim began. These systems completely bypass RF jamming, forcing entirely new approaches like wire cutting, kinetic interceptors, or directed energy weapons. But the really transformative development is the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program. The Trump administration is investing $3.5 billion in 2026 alone for the F-47 next-generation stealth fighter, designed with a 1,000 nautical mile combat radius, twice the F-22's range. But here's what actually makes it revolutionary. The F-47 is specifically engineered to fly with many drones, as many as you want. The plan calls for acquiring 1,000 CCAs, uncrewed, AI-enabled vehicles operating as wingmen to human-piloted fighters. These aren't simple surveillance drones. They're jet-powered, platforms capable of air-to-air combat, electronic warfare, and strike missions. The international implications are significant. Airbus and Kratos are partnering to pitch the XQ-58A Valkyrie drone to the German Air Force, aiming for combat-ready status by 2029. Meanwhile, General Atomics is establishing production in Germany for its YFQ-42A platform, the same aircraft developed for the US Air Force's CCA program, customizing systems for European air-to-ground missions versus the US focus on air-to-air operations. With this shift in air combat doctrine, the days of single-platform air superiority are ending. Don't worry, fighter jets aren't going anywhere. Air warfare will instead be about manned platforms coordinating with autonomous systems. And the military is implementing this transformation on a timeline measured in years, not decades. The military urgency creates an interesting contrast with the commercial sector, where the picture is more complicated. Joby Aviation, arguably the most advanced US eVTOL developer, is launching passenger service in the United Arab Emirates by early next year, but not in the United States. They've completed test flights in Dubai's extreme heat and dust conditions, and secured an exclusive 6-year agreement with Dubai's Road and Transport Authority. You're probably familiar with the promises. Joby's S4 can reduce the 30-minute car journey from Dubai International Airport to Palm Jumeirah down to 12 minutes by air taxi. More importantly, acoustic studies suggest that the aircraft would be negligible when accounting for ambient noise, essentially imperceptible over routine city sounds while flying at 1,000 meters overhead. The regulatory question becomes whether the FAA's thorough validation approach is protecting the industry from premature deployment problems or whether it's unnecessarily slowing deployment of this innovative technology. The answer probably depends on whether you prioritize avoiding early failures that could set the entire industry back, or getting operational experience that reveals the real world challenges sooner. Meanwhile, other parts of the AAM ecosystem face different regulatory challenges. The FAA's proposed Part 108 rule would streamline beyond visual line of sight operations for uncrewed commercial drones weighing up to 600 kilograms, addressing cargo delivery and inspection services that currently require individual waivers. This would benefit companies like DoorDash and Flytrex operating drone delivery in Dallas Fort Worth, as well as Zipline and Alphabet's Wing, who are collectively aiming to reach 1.8 million households, but must navigate waiver processes for their routine operations. Companies developing autonomous passenger aircraft like Whisk are still waiting on a certification pathway, combining the complexity of passenger carrying requirements with autonomous system validation. The FAA has made progress with the Mosaic rule, expanding the light sport aircraft category and removing static weight limits in favor of performance-based criteria. This allows designs up to 4 seats and enables new types of aerial work like infrastructure inspection. But Mosaic addresses the light sport aircraft category, not air taxi platforms, which represent the future of air mobility. The competitive pressure is building. UAE regulators are reportedly using the FAA playbook, but moving much faster on implementation. A 5-way agreement between the FAA and regulators in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK could accelerate eVTOL introduction in those markets once US certification is complete. But that still depends on the FAA moving first. Meanwhile, companies are facing real financial pressure. Vertical Aerospace, despite securing $60 million in equity funding, faces critical certification timelines for its VX4 aircraft by 2028. Their 1,500 pre-orders are non-binding, and the company acknowledges ongoing challenges in the eVTOL market. This highlights a certification paradox. Companies need to move forward to fund their development, but they can't generate revenue without certification. There's another layer to these regulatory questions: autonomy. Companies like Whisk are developing fully autonomous air taxis to reduce operational costs by eliminating the onboard pilots, while others like Joby and Archer are pursuing piloted operations initially. While both approaches face certification realities, pursuing autonomy from the get-go may mean Whisk watch their competition hit the market first. To learn more about this, let's turn to a group of aviation experts from NASA, Joby, Collins Aerospace, and Merlin who recently addressed these myths about AI certification. First, a clarification. Autonomy and AI are distinct concepts. Autonomy refers to system behaviors, what the aircraft does, and AI and machine learning are tools to achieve those behaviors, how decisions are made. This distinction matters because certification authorities can evaluate autonomous behaviors through traditional functional hazard assessments, but constantly learning AI systems present unprecedented challenges. This brings us to the next myth, that all AI is non-deterministic. The industry already has a history of working with classical AI techniques, symbolic AI representations with predictable, traceable decision paths that are deterministic. But neural network AIs that enable truly adaptive behavior present a certification challenge because aviation authorities need to trace exactly how a system will respond to any given input. Neural networks are usually thought of as a black box, systems that can't provide deterministic traceability, making them essentially uncertifiable under current aviation standards. SkyGrid's CEO believes that freezing neural networks after training may be a way to work around this limitation. Here's a list of the other myths that they busted on that panel. This leads us to the autonomy dilemma. The more sophisticated the autonomous system becomes, the longer certification takes. But the less sophisticated it remains, the less it delivers on cost and operational promises. This trade-off is measured differently across the industry. Meanwhile, AI is making its way into military applications, where operational urgency often overrides regulatory caution. Merlin is integrating its Merlin Pilot autonomy software into Northrop Grumman's Beacon testbed to accelerate mission autonomy validation for military and uncrewed aircraft. They're already the prime contractor for U.S. Special Operations Command on the C-130J and KC-135 autonomous systems. Military contracts remain a great path for commercial companies to prove their autonomy stacks and generate revenue before certification is possible. While the autonomy challenges are significant, the infrastructure requirements for large-scale AAM operations present an even more complex challenge. NASA's Air Traffic Management Exploration Project is developing next-generation ATC systems using digital twins of flight paths to manage AAM complexity. SkyGrid, owned by autonomous air taxi developer Wisk, has created Strata. It's a software that provides comprehensive airspace management for remote operators, essentially replacing human air traffic controllers with algorithmic decision-making. But here's the broader infrastructure challenge. Current aviation systems weren't designed for thousands of aircraft operating simultaneously in urban airspace. Air traffic control relies heavily on voice communication and radar systems that become overwhelming with high-density operations. Legacy aviation communications are also vulnerable to various cyber threats, including spoofing and the emerging concern that AI-generated deepfake voices could imitate controllers. NASA's in-time aviation safety management system represents a fundamental rethinking of aviation safety. Instead of reactive incident response, AASMS uses real-time data and digital twins of flight paths to predict and mitigate hazards before they occur. The system continuously monitors aircraft status, weather conditions, and air traffic control communications to identify potential conflicts and automatically suggest corrections. Scale is the real challenge. Current air traffic systems handle thousands of aircraft daily over the entire national airspace. AAM envisions thousands of air taxis operating over individual cities, with flight densities that would overwhelm traditional radar-based tracking and voice-based communication systems. SkyGrid's Strata software offers a glimpse of the solution by creating digital twins of low-altitude airspace, integrating weather data, vertiport status, and obstacle information for automated pre-flight validation and real-time flight management. But this requires machine-to-machine communication protocols that don't exist in current aviation systems. The FAA recognizes this challenge and intends to create automated flight rules, AFR, supplementing traditional visual flight rules and instrument flight rules with protocols designed for autonomous aircraft. These would enable digital, machine-to-machine traffic services rather than voice-based human coordination. But here's the implementation challenge: building infrastructure for operations that don't exist yet, while ensuring compatibility with existing aviation systems that can't be replaced overnight. States like North Carolina and Georgia are creating interstate in the sky corridors as real-world testbeds, but these are pilot programs, not production systems. Alongside all of these air traffic management advances is a critical vulnerability that's reshaping navigation. GPS is increasingly unreliable. Satellite-based navigation faces growing threats from jamming and spoofing, particularly around conflict zones in the Middle East, Ukraine, and Russia. This isn't a theoretical concern. It's affecting civilian and military flights right now. The solution being developed represents a genuine technological breakthrough. Airbus's Innovation Center A-Cubed and Sandbox AQ are testing quantum sensing technology called MagNav. The system measures unique magnetic signatures in Earth's crust using quantum sensors, with an AI algorithm running on a single GPU to match those signatures to precise locations. They've created a brand new map system. What makes this revolutionary is that it's completely analog, and essentially unjammable and unspoofable. Unlike GPS signals that can be blocked or faked, Earth's magnetic field can't be artificially replicated without insane amounts of energy. The system provides location accuracy sufficient for aviation navigation while being immune to electronic warfare tactics that are increasingly common. The orbital technology is being targeted first at defense customers, and notably, the secretive X-37B orbital test vehicle is currently testing quantum navigation systems in orbit. Belgium's Agilica has developed a complementary technology. The AGL system uses ultra-wideband positioning from ground-based anchors for sub-20 centimeter precision in GPS-denied environments. This enables autonomous drone operations in dense urban settings or on moving vessels where traditional navigation fails. These infrastructure developments reveal the complexity of what's really being attempted. Three critical timelines are converging over the next 18 months, and their intersection will determine whether AAA delivers on its promises or becomes another aerospace false start. The military timeline is aggressive but achievable. Squad level attack drones by 2026, CCA operational demonstrations by 2026, and F 47 first flight expected during the current administration. Military customers provide the funding certainty and operational urgency needed to drive rapid technology maturation. The commercial timeline is more uncertain. Joby aims for UAE passenger service by early 2026, while other companies face critical certification deadlines through 2028. But regulatory approval processes remain bottlenecked, particularly in the US market. The infrastructure timeline might be the most critical. Quantum sensing alternatives to GPS are in testing phases. Next generation air traffic management systems are under development, and autonomous flight rules are being drafted. But these foundational technologies must be proven and deployed before large scale AAM operations become viable. On the commercial side, if companies like Joby can prove their technology in international markets first, that might actually benefit the US in the long run. We get to learn from their operational experience before committing to large scale deployment. The UAE are essentially providing real world testing grounds for American developed technology, but the military implications are more serious. Countries and regions that can rapidly integrate autonomous systems while maintaining operational effectiveness will have significant tactical advantages. With global tensions rising, falling behind in military drone integration could have genuine security consequences that go well beyond market competition. The next year or so will reveal whether the ambitious timelines can be reconciled with technical realities, whether international operational experience will inform better US implementation, and whether the infrastructure investments being made today can support the operational scales being promised tomorrow. What's your assessment of these developments? Do you think the military integration timeline is realistic, or are we setting unrealistic expectations? Should the FAA prioritize speed or thoroughness in eVTOL certification? How concerned should we be about GPS vulnerabilities affecting both commercial and military aviation? And perhaps most critically, do you think that the infrastructure investments being made today are sufficient to support the operational scales being promised? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you found this analysis valuable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you want to learn more about the return on investment that NASA provides us, check out my most recent video. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.